Hello everybody and welcome to our new tutorial here. This tutorial is going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be a 10 by 10 kitchen. As you notice right here, we got 120 inches going out this way and then 120 inches going out this way. So pretty simple, easy kitchen to lay out. You can do this on graph paper. You do not need to use a computer like I'm doing here, but my handwriting is terrible, so I'm going to show you on this video using my program here, and this is called Cabinet Vision. Cabinet Vision is pretty cool. It's actually a good product for cabinet makers if you're doing all that type of stuff. So highly recommend if you're in the trade to get this program. So let's get started. Looking here is let's get started with the layout. So first thing you want to do is take your measurements of your existing kitchen. Now obviously we already know we're doing 120 inches here and 120 inches there. So next thing you want to do is figure out where your plumbing comes in. Now plumbing typically, let's just say it comes out right about, that's not good. And I probably should have, it'd be nice if I was working with a real world example, but unfortunately I'm not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a couple of lines here, and we're going to say that the plumbing from the wall is about 92 and 15/16. And then, it starts at 92 and 15/16, and then it's going to go, if I can get this thing to move right. So let's say 84 and 5/16 to the start of the plumbing, and then 92 and 15/16 to the end. So basically, in this box that you see right here, that's where my plumbing is going to be. I'm going to mark that in blue. And you don't have to do that. If you're doing it with graph paper, you could just use a pencil mark. I think it's important to remember where your plumbing is sticking out of the wall. Just because you want to make sure that the sink cabinet encompasses the plumbing. If it's in a division of the sink cabinet, or if it gets outside of the sink cabinet, then you're going to have to modify your cabinet on site, and that's a pain. So, all right, so here we go. Let's get some cabinets on the wall here. I'm going to put a two-door, one false front sink base cabinet. Now, like I said, this is fine right now. We have our plumbing inside the cabinet. This would not be okay. That's pretty close. Actually, be okay there. One thing you want to avoid, though, is doing something like this. Now, notice that the plumbing is now in the division of the cabinet. We'd have to cut that division out, and it's a big pain. So try to keep it at least inside the cabinet somewhat, and your plumber will thank you. Got it. So there we go. I'm going to add our sink cabinet, so we know that's all good. I'm going to do a 36-inch wide sink cabinet for this standard 10 by 10 kitchen. Now, a 36-inch wide sink cabinet is pretty cool because you can fit pretty much any sink on the market. Most sinks are based, or the size of that sink basin is actually based on a 36-inch wide sink cabinet, like you see here. So you can minimize this. I have seen people go down to 33. By going down to 33 inches, you'll still be able to fit most of the sinks on the market, but definitely check your specs. 36 inches is definitely going to be the most common, so I'm going to stick with 36. Okay. Other thing we're going to do, we're going to have a dishwasher on this side of the sink cabinet. I'm not going to add that. I'm not even going to use the base appliance case cabinet. Now, to show you, we have a cabinet on our website. It's called the base appliance case. Now, obviously, this is a real standard cabinet. I'm going to show you the reason why we would use it and why we would not. If I could find it. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. So, base appliance case is this. Let me color that in for you a little bit. Basically, what it is it's a cabinet. Oh, I think I grabbed the wrong one. I grabbed the unfinished interior one. Sorry about that. There we go. So it's a cabinet. You got your pre-finished maple plywood right there. Let's see if I can color that in a little bit better. Then you got your edge-banded front of the case. Now this is great for a lot of the dishwashers on the market. When you're going to install your cabinets, having an actual cabinet opening for your dishwasher is really nice because you're able to ensure that opening is going to be perfectly square from front to back. You're also going to be able to ensure that that you have an actual 24-inch wide span here. A lot of the times, if you do this without the appliance case, you're going to have to make sure you measure from the edge of one cabinet to the other at installation. So make sure you get 24 inches in there. That's our typical standard for a dishwasher opening. Now, the base appliance case is great because when it's all said and done, you got this nice little alcove here for your dishwasher. It separates the opening. It also ensures that the doors and stuff don't rub. Now, you'll probably be fine without using a base appliance case. You can save a little bit of money by doing so. So I'm not going to use one in this example because we're trying to keep this thing on a budget. So I'm just going to leave a 24-inch space here. And what I'd recommend doing if you're doing your layout at home is to make sure you account for 24 inches of space between the two cabinets. That's what I'm going to do right there. Well, that's not 22. That's not 24 inches, is it? 24. And there we go. So I got my 24 inches of space right there. That's no problem. I'm just going to make sure this line is drawn back here. And again, you can do whatever you want here. I'm just drawing it in because I want to, for my own personal reasons. So, okay, so there we go. Now, what I probably should have done here in the first place is go back through and put a base 90 in, because the base 90 is going to be the cabinet we put here in the corner. And it just so happened to work out that this thing is exactly 24 inches off. Now, typically in the real world, you're not going to have this sort of luck between the base 90 and this cabinet. So ideally what you want to do in this situation is get this cabinet 24 inches off the base 90. And then in this case, I don't even have to move it. We just got lucky. So originally it should have been something like that. Just make sure you got 24 inches of space. It's that simple. Okay, so base 90 cabinet is in there. We also have a range here. I'm going to put a range here in this area. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to use let's use a range that's, say, 30 inches wide, a 30-inch range. I'm going to draw it in here. So I got my 30-inch range there. I got my space detailed out. I'm going to leave that opening. And I'm not going to put any, you don't really need any spacers in there. The ranges typically will slide right into the opening, and you're not going to have any issues with doors on your cabinets rubbing on the range. So don't really worry about that. That's not a big deal. The other side of the range here, I have a base cabinet, and then I'm going to have a refrigerator over on the side here. So let's do a base cabinet, one door, one drawer. Again, I'm going to make sure I got 30 inches of space. So let's just make sure that our line is drawn perfectly right there. It is. Looking good. Dishwasher opening, range opening. Well, in fact, we could write that in there. Perfect. Okay, so that's pretty much that. What we have here is a 36-inch wide opening. And this base one-door cabinet is going to be an 18-inch width. Now, you can always modify these cabinets to whatever width you want. Our cabinets are fully customizable down to a 1/4 of an inch increment. So let's just say we have a refrigerator in here. Now, most refrigerators are going to require about a 36-inch wide opening. So, for example, in this case, I really don't need to do too much because the opening's already at 36. I don't even have to change the cabinet size on that. So again, I'm going to just make sure I got my dimensions detailed right there. 36-inch wide refrigerator opening. Perfect. Okay, so that's pretty much my base cabinets. Also, I'm going to put over on this side, if we look at this in 3D, I'm going to have to fix these doors here in a minute too. So I'm going to put a base cabinet right over here. Base one door, one drawer. Let's see here. Let's put a 3-drawer base cabinet in there for fun. 3-drawer base cabinet. Now, remember, anytime you have the side of a cabinet that's exposed to the room, you're going to need to use a finished-in panel. Now, finished-in panels, if you look at this cabinet, let's let it render real quick. So the ends of our cabinets are going to have construction holes showing, so be sure to use a finished-in panel to cover up those construction holes. My personal favorite is to use either a base, just a slab finished in. And we have another tutorial underneath our finished-in panel category that you can watch, and it'll talk about modifying the finished-in panel to do whatever you want. In this case, you can run the finished-in panel down to the floor, like you see here. That'll cover it all the way, and it actually kind of ends the opening, or ends the cabinet run. More popular, though, is to order your finished-in panel 4 inches shorter in height. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to decrease from 34.5. I'm going to take that down to 4. I mean down 4 inches. And what I'm trying to do there is raise the end panel up off the floor by 4 inches so that our toe kick can wrap around the side of our cabinet. See what I did there? So now the finished end panel is nice and flush. It's on the outside of the base cabinet, and I got my toe kick is still exposed. So I'd use a toe skin that's ordered in our millwork category to cover this entire toe kick, and that's going to make this whole cabinet run look like one single cabinet, because obviously this is a separate cabinet here and a separate cabinet there. So that's the finished end panel for that area. Now you kind of need to do the same thing over here in this in the refrigerator opening. So in this case, I have an 18-inch wide base cabinet. So let's take a look at this in 3D, and I'll tell you what I'm looking at here. Once a refrigerator is added into this opening, you might still see the side of this cabinet. Most likely not. So this is really an optional deal, but I am going to decrease this by 3/4 of an inch because I want to maintain my 36-inch wide opening here, and I'm going to add that same sort of finished end panel over here. And what I did, I just finished that piece off. You see how that works? So you got my finished end panel right there on the side. And then I can wrap my toe kick around just like I did before. Now the range stays open. You don't need end panels there. There's no reason, because that range is going to slide right into that opening, the 30-inch range. And just while I have you here, I'm going to change these over to shaker because they were on as slabs. Got it. So here we go. So this is where we're at right now. We've done all of our base cabinets. We have our openings. So it's pretty simple. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cabinets and 2 end panels is what we just did. Anybody can figure this out. Pretty simple. Just maintain your openings. Make sure you got your refrigerator opening, whatever it needs to be. Typically, what I like to do with the refrigerator opening is figure out what size your refrigerator case is, and then add an inch. Get a 1/2 inch clearance on each side is fine. Then you'll be able to slide that refrigerator in there. Same thing with the height. Add 1 inch to the height. Take the height of the refrigerator case. Make sure you're taking into account the hinges on the top of the refrigerator in some cases. But all of these ranges and all these appliances are going to come with their own specs. So just review those specs when you're doing it. So that's pretty much it for the base cabinets. Let's get into the wall cabinets. We're going to need obviously something up above here. Now, depending on what we're doing here, this is going to be a real standard cabinet layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put some wall cabinets on the wall. If I can pull them up here. I'm going to use a 2-door wall cabinet above the refrigerator. I'm going to make that 36 inches wide. Now, typically, your refrigerator, you're going to want to figure out how tall your refrigerator is to figure out how tall this upper cabinet needs to be. In this case, I have a ceiling height of 96 inches, which is pretty common. It's a pretty normal standard 8-foot ceiling. So, what I'm going to do here is I know that most refrigerators are right around. They need about a 72-inch tall opening. Now, definitely check with your specs on that, because every refrigerator varies. I mean, they have built-in refrigerators that are 84 up to 90 inches tall. So it just depends on what you're doing. It's not as standard as it was, say, 10 years ago. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is 72. So that's what, 16. So I need this to be 20. So the idea here is to go from the floor up 72 inches. So that my refrigerator will fit in just nicely, just right there. Now also, since we have this wall cabinet right here, one thing I forgot to do is going to be to decrease this by 3/4 of an inch, because this side of this cabinet over on the left side here, right here, is exposed to view. So obviously, we don't want this side to be showing some construction holes. So I'm going to add in a wall finished end panel. And then the wall finished end panel obviously is going to be the same height, so it's 20 inches. And the depth is 12 5/8. That's perfect. Okay. Next thing we want to do is we have a little hood cabinet, or an upper hood cabinet. Now you have a few different options here. Some people use those microwaves that have like the above range microwave. They kind of filter the air back out. They don't actually take the vent. They don't actually vent out of the house. I'd almost always prefer using a vented hood, one that actually, you know, extracts the air from there and then vents it out of your house. And some people don't have that option, so you can use a wall two-door cabinet in that area if you really wanted to. That would be just like a standard wall two-door, and then you'd obviously decrease the height to whatever you need there. Typically, you'll look at the specs on your what is it, the microwave range upper, and then figure out what height you need. In this case, I'm going to actually use a vented microwave hood because I think that's a better way of doing it. So let's go wall two-door. Okay, so this is my vented microwave hood. Now what this cabinet is basically it's got a channel dug through it. So basically, as you see here in our 3D view, so there's actually cut out here on top. So you can actually see through, or a punch out, sorry. The vent can actually go all the way up through the cabinet, which is nice because when you open the doors, you don't see the vent. It'll look like this. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, so that's one of the ones I would recommend for this. I should probably close those doors. And obviously, we're going to make that the same width as the opening down below because it's 30-inch wide range. So we're going to have a 30-inch wide opening right there. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to make this one, say, 20 inches tall. Basically, what you want to do is just figure out how tall your microwave upper part is, and then take that to the bottom of the wall cabinets, which we have not added in here. So let's figure that out real quick. Wall cabinets. Here we go. Wall one-door cabinet. I'm going to go right through here. Now this wall one-door cabinet, I'm going to say it needs to be, I like the elevation. When I say elevation, I mean the distance from the floor to the bottom of the cabinets. I like that to be right at about 54 inches. Whether you're going to use an under cabinet light valance or not, I still would keep it at 54 inches and just keep it standard. So in this case, 38 inches is the height I need to make, is the height I need here. So I'm going to show you on measurement here. So from the bottom of this cabinet to here, basically from the floor up, 54 inches. Stick with that. And that works out really nice. That'll work out on pretty much everything you need. Okay? That's the elevation. Now the reason why we do that is that seems to be right about the level that looks the most correct. You can go higher or lower, up or down by plus or minus 2 inches. But this is kind of the standard for European style cabinet. Okay, now talking about elevations, the bottom of the wall cabinet, and then the height of the cabinet itself, and then the gap above the cabinet to the ceiling, because we're running our cabinets up to the ceiling here. I'm going to show you what we can do. Now, 54 inches is the elevation here. I like to leave 4 inches above the cabinets. And I will show you what I mean there. 4 inches from the top of the cabinet to the bottom of the ceiling, or to the ceiling itself. Now the reason for that is on our millwork page, if you go back to our website and you click on millwork, you're going to see that there's we have crown molding packages, and some of the crown molding packages require or recommend a 4-inch height. It's actually a 3-inch tall crown molding with a little backer piece. And the nice thing about the 3-inch tall crown molding and the backer piece is the backer takes up about an inch of space, so it'll be an inch of flat area above the cabinets. Let me draw it in here. It'll be a little easier to show you. Okay. Here's a pretty crude example. Oh, actually, that doesn't look too bad. So there's our L-shaped backer piece, and that's about on a 4-inch tall, 4-inch tall product here. Overall height is 4 inches tall. We have 3 inches from the top of the crown to the bottom of the crown. And then this guy right here is going to be 3 inches. So there's actually an inch space from the top of this L-shaped backer to the bottom of the ceiling. And you want that inch of space just in case there's some waves in the ceiling itself. So you attach this backer, this L-shaped backer, to the top of the cabinet. Then you attach or pin nail the face of this crown molding to the face of the backer. And that way, if your ceiling is off or it's out of level or your house has shifted over the years, and especially on older homes, that crown molding is going to be able to contour with the ceiling, giving you a real nice tight fit up here at top, so you're not going to have to leave a hairline, seam between the two. Now, alternatively, I've also seen people where they leave like a quarter of an inch space above your crown molding to the bottom, to the ceiling. It's not as noticeable as you think. In fact, the house that I bought recently has that done in a few areas. Um, it's not the best way of doing it, but I looked at it and I'm like, wow, that's it doesn't look that bad. So I'd highly recommend taking a look at it, and whatever your contractor or you as the installer decide to do will be just fine. Just make sure it's consistent. You'll be good to go. So I'm going to delete this and get back on track because I am straying here. So okay, so we've done this right here. We have our wall upper here. We have a finished in panel that's needed. So that's not going to look right. You have the ends of the cabinet right here are exposed at the moment. So what we need to do is figure out, we need to put a finished in panel in there. We need to skin that with a finished in panel. Okay, so there's two different ways of doing this. First way to do it is to basically just add an in panel onto the side of the cabinet right here. And then another one right here. That's completely fine. Another way to do it is, since you're going to have a microwave upper right here, you might not actually need a finished in panel. It just depends on where it is. Most microwave uppers, like the vented microwave hoods, those are going to be they're still going to leave a little gap down below. So you're probably going to need to get that finished in panel in there somehow. So what I like to do here is I'm going to decrease this by 1.5. I'm then going to take my wall finished in. So I got a couple wall finished in panels here. I know that the height difference is about 18 inches, so I know my height of my in panels are going to have to be 18. I also know that the elevation needs to be at 54, so that's all I inputted there. I'm just doing a little math. Same thing here, height 18, elevation 54, and I'm going to put that real close to the wall cabinet there. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to make sure that this aligns with this. And the only reason that's important is you just don't want to go to install your cabinets and you got the refrigerator real close to the bottom there. So you want this to be on the same plane moving up. Alright, so that's pretty much that. Now the reason I decreased this in width by 1.5 inches is the fact that I want these guys to marry into the side of this cabinet. There's no reason to run these finished in panels all the way up to the ceiling, or all the way up there. It'll create a seam that could draw the eye. You can do it either way. I've seen people do it where they run them between the cabinets in this case. It doesn't look bad. Just make that recommendation for yourself. I personally would just run it all the way over. So I'm going to adjust the upper cabinet here. So that's now running over the top of this finished in panel. Same thing here. It's going over the top of that one. Okay? So what we've done there, we just added those two little finished in panels in. It's kind of like Legos, building with Legos. Let's see if I get a better view for you. Let's get a nice preview here. Let's see what's going on. So that's what I got so far. And it looks like for some reason I deleted this in panel over here. So I'll just add that back in a minute. So what you see here is we've skinned basically the outside with this finished in panel. That'll cover up those holes. Same thing on the other side back here, which you really can't see. Microwave upper is going to go between this in panel and the other one here, and then we're pretty much done. Let's go back to plan view, and I am going to put this in panel back in here because I accidentally took it out. That one's back to normal. We're good to go. Moving on. Over into this corner right here is your corner. I could use a wall 90 cabinet. I could use a wall 45. I could use a wall blind corner cabinet. There's lots of different ways to do corner cabinets, especially with our cabinetry, since they're so customizable. In this case, I'm just going to use a wall 45 for fun. And as you see there, wall 45 cabinet is now on the wall. I'm going to make sure that I got my right height there, so I'm going to use 38-inch tall wall cabinet. There's my wall cabinet right there. Same thing over here. I am going to need another single wall cabinet in this area. I'm going to hinge it on the right because I think it looks better. You get better access to it. And that's what we need. Now, I'm going to actually decrease this. We obviously need to get an in panel on the side here of this cabinet. And we want this plane to line up. So I need to decrease this by 3/4 of an inch. Remember, your in panels are 3/4 of an inch thick. Alright, so there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this in panel on the side here. I'm going to raise up the elevation to 54 like we did before. And now I got this little gap here between these two cabinets. So I'm going to increase that by 0.75. Oh, there's my in panel. So basically what I have there is I just ran this cabinet in here. I hid the side with an in panel of the cabinet, and then I'm going to be moving over. Let's take a look at this in 3D and I'll show you what I've done there. It's pretty simple. Wow, sun's really reflecting off this cabinet. So anyway, you can see the in panel here, in panel here, in panel here, in panel there. Pretty simple. Same thing I'm going to do on this side of the wall, basically on this guy right here. I'm going to add a 2-door wall cabinet. You could have whatever type of cabinet you want to. You don't have to just use what I'm saying here. I'm just keeping this thing on a budget for everybody. So, okay, so I got my wall cabinet there. I got it at 38 inches tall, so it's the same height as the wall 45. That's perfect. And you can really run this wherever you want to. I don't have a window or anything drawn in here, so I'm just going to run it out to, say, this. I'm going to try to kind of line it up here. And I'm going to pull out another wall finished in panel and put it right there on the side of the cabinet. It's good. Height needs to be the same as the wall cabinet. That looks good. And I finished off the side of that. So same thing over here. I got a 23¼ inch wide base cabinet. I'm going to use a wall cabinet that is the same width. There we go. So I'm going to use the same width wall cabinet as I am the base cabinet, just for fun. And then I'm going to make the height 38. And obviously I don't like the way that door is hinged. I want to hinge it on the right side. Perfect. Same thing over here. We just need a finished in panel to cover the ends. Obviously that's an exposed end. Same thing there. And we've done it. So that's pretty much it as far as your cabinets are concerned. Doing layouts like this is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. So I'll show you what we've done here. Let's get a little preview to kind of recap. So that's pretty much it. That's a real basic layout. We got our kitchen sink cabinet, a 3-drawer base, a finished in panel, a base 90 all by itself, all lonely over there. We got a nice gap here between the two cabinets of 24 inches. Now it's really important to keep that 24-inch gap for your dishwasher. Right here I got a gap of 30 inches. That's for the range that I'm going to be adding in there. And up here I'm going to have a 30-inch gap between these two finished in panels, as we've seen. And that's for your microwave, your vented microwave hood. Over here I got a nice space for my refrigerator, and that's going to go in this area. And then here, above the cabinets, we did that wall 45, a wall 2-door, and then some finished in panels to block off the ends there, so make sure that they look right. Now, a little bonus round here. We're already at 30 minutes on this video. Sorry for taking so long. So let's do this. I'm gonna pause the video so I don't waste the time. I'm gonna put some crown molding up here on top. I'm gonna put some toe skins around the base here, and we'll kind of dress this thing up, see what it looks like. Okay, so I went through and I put together all of our pieces here. What I did was I went through, I added on the crown molding. I did a shaker crown up top. That's just the 2-piece. So you got a crown molding. You can have your shaker crown molding. Then you got that L-shaped backer, as we talked about earlier. That requires 4 inches of space above the cabinet and below the ceiling, so 4-inch gap. Over here I did the under cabinet light valance, and that's what you see in this guy right there. Under cabinet light balance, I just kind of move that all the way around. That's kind of an L-shaped piece too. You attach it from underneath, and it'll hide any sort of lights you have underneath your cabinets. Okay, down below I did the toe skins right here on the base cabinet. You can kind of see how the toe skins wrap around, and it's just used on the face. You don't need to go back into the openings like that. There's just no reason. So basically you do it to finish off the toe kick area. Now some people I've seen use like a black or a gray toe skin. I've seen contemporary applications. I've seen people use aluminum skins. It's pretty cool. In our case, we do sell a matching wood toe skin that has the same finish and stuff that your doors can be ordered in. So you can order this in painted or cherry with a tamarack finish or anything that you can see there. Now this computer rendering is going off of a alder with a clear coat on it. So this is just a kind of representation of what you're going to see with alder. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to post some pictures of this stuff, and we'll put the tutorial together so you can see it visually as well as when you're watching this video. Thanks again. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.